LGBTI podcast.
So today I have the honor to welcome in our streamy studio here at Politis Group Marc Angel, the Vice President of the European Parliament and co-chair of the European Parliament Intergroup on LGBTI rights. Marc, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Daphne. I'm happy to be here.
It's an honor you made time for us.
Well, I think when I defend the cause and when I defend Europe, it's good to go to local radio station and podcasting stations to give a message from Brussels to the to the member states, to Athens.
It's very important to open this agenda because it concerns us all. No matter if we belong to the LGBTI community or not, we're still, citizens of the same community, of the same world. So many titles precede your name. You're widely known as the champion of equity. Tough description, honorable, a fight that never stops worldwide. What are you fighting for?
Well, we are fighting for equality, no extra rights, and we are fighting against discrimination. That's it. Often people think when you fight for LGBTIQ rights that we want some extra rights. No, we want to have the same rights as everybody, and this is what we do in the LGBTI Intergroup in the European Parliament. And this is an intergroup of 157 members of the parliament. And as you said, they are, of course, not all part of the LGBTI community like me, but they're allies. And this allyship is so important.
We always need people to help us, for all causes. Which are the key issues that are addressed now in order to be resolved by the European Parliament as far as the LGBTI community is concerned?
Well, you must know that the European Commission has a Commissioner for Equality. This is the first time this Commission now has a dedicated Commissioner for Equality. It's Helena Dalli from Malta. And she came out with different equality strategies, and gender equality strategy, an anti-racism strategy, a Roma strategy, and disability strategy, and an LGBTI equality strategy. And for us in the Parliament, in the LGBTI Intergroup, of course, we are monitoring how this LGBTI equality strategy is implemented when it comes to where Europe has competences. There's a few legislative proposals where Europe can do something, but as you know, Europe doesn't have all the competences. Many competences are in member states, and there we are also monitoring what happens in the member states. We have contacts with all civil society associations, ILGA Europe, Transgender Europe, intersex organizations, etc.
It takes more than two to tango.
Yeah. And then it's also very important in countries where it was more difficult, where there was really state-sponsored LGBTI phobia or transphobia, like in Hungary or in Poland. There, of course, we're also working very closely with civil society and the associations, the human rights defenders in these countries.
The key issue in Greece at this point, which is top priority for the LGBTI community, is that of the legal marriage between two gay people, which, if allowed, automatically enables the couple to untangle all matters concerning children, either by adopting or by surrogacy. So, first things first, what are the actions taken or aspired to be taken on the legalization of the marriage between a gay couple in Greece?
As you know, family law is national law, and therefore Europe has little say in that. But the LGBTI equality strategy also calls countries to make an LGBTI action plan, and then to work on it and to go further and to have more equality and less discrimination. So I think, as I said in the beginning, opening marriage, same-sex marriage, we don't take anything away from anybody else. So why is there this opposition?
Exactly.
And I believe that population are often much more advanced as politicians think, and a lot of politicians are afraid. And I can give you two examples. Two very Catholic countries like Malta and Ireland. In Malta, it was the Labour government of Malta who had the courage to say, okay, we will have all these progressive laws. But Malta is now number 1 on the ILGA Europe list. Ireland, they had the courage to call a referendum, and they were surprised that so many people in Ireland were in favor, and then it wasn't a problem to do the law. I come from Luxembourg, a very small country, 97% of the population are Catholic, but not all going to church, of course, but it's a country which was believed to be very conservative too. We have a gay prime minister. We had at a certain moment a gay prime minister, a gay vice prime minister, and nobody cared. And that's gay and what else was same-sex marriage passed in the parliament, and only 3 MPs in Luxembourg voted against. The Conservatives also supported it. And this is also thanks to the work of the NGOs, and the families play an important role. My experience as a politician was when you bring families, mothers, fathers of LGBTI persons, parents of trans kids, to meet politicians, and then they realize, well, this is nothing. We have to help, and we have to get rid of this discrimination. So I hope that you will move towards same-sex marriage in Greece, because as I said again, we don't take anything away from heterosexual couples, and it's just the same. They want to have the same rights. But then the question of children comes too, but which is also right.
Yes, because secondly, that's a second issue. Is there anything planned concerning child matters between a same-sex couple?
There is legislation on the European level, but only when it concerns cross-border issues.
Okay.
We will have a legislation on the European level which says if you're a parent in one country, you're a parent in another country. That means if a same-sex couple from Spain or
Britain
from a country where it's recognized moves to a country where it's not recognized, that country cannot say you're not the legal parents, or they have to recognize. For example, there is a gay couple from Spain. If they would move now to Poland, it could risk that the Polish authorities say, well, who is the parents? You have no rights here. You are not the parents, etc.
Which is a very common problem.
Yeah, and therefore that's already good, that the recognition of rainbow families within Europe, and here Europe has a competences because it concerns cross-border issues, and this is a first step also, and I think that is very good. For the rest, adoption, etc., is national law. But a lot of the children exist already, you know. I know a lot of lesbian friends where one already has 1 or 2 kids. So why shouldn't they, when they get married and the biological mother can have an accident, can die, and then why wouldn't the other mother have the right to keep these children? So I think it's very important that when you have marriage, adoption automatically goes
or
along.
Surrogacy. It's a very complex legal framework that has to be, reframed.
Yeah. And you always have to see it from the point of view of the children's rights also. A lot of countries, they don't allow surrogacy, but then if the parents go to another country and have it done, you cannot punish these children and not giving them a citizenship. So I think you have to always see it also from the child's rights perspective, and that's what we try to do. And also adoption, you can adopt children, and there's some countries who also allow adoption, give children to same-sex couples, and I've seen very successful families. And people who want to adopt a child, be it same-sex couples or heterosexual couples, these are really people who want these children and who have a project, and therefore one should not deprive them from this and this chance they give to a child to give them a good life and to give them
and
love.
To be loved.
And it's about love, anyway, and care and time, quality time, and I've seen very positive examples.
And we should bear in mind that, people, because they have their work and because they're running like crazy, they don't have time to make kids, and they want to adopt, in order to provide a good quality life to someone who needs it. You mentioned earlier trans people. So this question regards the trans community. How could the visibility of trans people get empowered and strengthened within the wider community, and how could their work life become easier?
First of all, we have to work within the LGBTI community. There is also a bit of we have to be more tolerant. Often gay or lesbians say, again, trans, well, what do they want now? And we have to be aware that 50 years ago, when you were a gay or a lesbian woman, you were often the only in the village. You didn't know what was wrong with you. You felt wrong. And then we had people who fought for our rights, and there was a whole movement which existed. So that's why in many countries now, if you're gay or lesbian, you're fully integrated and you're hardly discriminated anymore. and internet and all the internet now helps also to
social media.
And social media helps to, and thank God also series on Netflix now where you see, and on other media, in movies you see trans persons. So people realize this is also something. These people don't have to hide anymore. They were hiding for centuries. They were suffering, and nobody should suffer in a modern society. So they're coming out now, and we have to support them. And again, here you see also a bit the sexist. Trans women, it's often more difficult for trans women than for trans men. Mm-hmm. And here also you see again inequalities. And I hope we will have in many, many countries soon legal gender recognition, which is built on self-determination and depathologization. That some do not want to be operated. They say, I just want to, I don't need to, be as I am, etc. And this opens also to get us out of this binarism, and I see it men and women in all their diversity, and then I see it more linear than mm-hmm. binary, and so we have to really raise awareness also on trans people and open them to society. And the problem is many trans people end up in sex work because they are rejected.
Welcomed, of course.
They are rejected. They lose their home. A young trans woman, when she's kicked out by their family or nobody, she feels hate speech, and being abused and being on the street from one day to another. And often then sex work or prostitution is the only option. And this is not good. So we should give people opportunities to be full members of this society and be integrated. And we are in Brussels, and I'm very proud that the Vice Prime Minister of Belgium is a trans woman. She was before a member of the European Parliament, and this is very important that there is more and more role models also. We need more role models of trans women and trans men, and also intersex persons. A lot of people do not know what an intersex person is. Even politicians on the higher level, when I talk about these subjects, they are like,
what are you talking about?
Then you have to explain them. It's awareness rising is very important. The same, I'm an AIDS activist. I've become an activist through, in the 80s when AIDS hit the LGBTI community very hard. And now I talk sometimes to colleagues about the progress has been done. And for many, AIDS is still what it was in the 80s. They do not know about PrEP, about all the means you have to protect yourself now, and that you can live a normal life with if you have the good treatment at time. And we have to talk more about these things. Rising awareness is very, very important.
And I read recently about 3 men that they were fully cured from HIV.
Yes.
Due to, science.
Yeah.
In your opinion, what can be done to eliminate the abusive language used and characterizations, including sexism and gender discrimination from the media here in Greece? Because TV and the media, either we like it or not, they encourage racism of all types. And at the end of the day, they form a background of consciousness, mm-hmm. which is very important.
It's very important that hate speech is being punished more. And here again, Europe has a say, and we're working on a piece of legislation to put hate speech and hate crime on the Euro crime list. And also when it's targeted against LGBTIQ people. And often, I must say, hate speech comes from churches, from different religious groups also.
We've seen it many times.
Yes, and this is a no-go, and I really hope that this legislation will go through very quickly, because in every member state, hate speech is on a level that it is a crime, and we know that hate speech always ends in hate crime and in violence, and we had hate crimes a few months ago in Slovakia, in Bratislava, where 2 young gay men were killed. Well, you had hate crime here too in Greece.
Many times.
By the way, I'm in the petition committee of the European Parliament, and the mother of Zach, who was killed here.
He was a very dear friend of mine.
Yeah, this mother, I call her Mother Courage, came to the European Parliament in January to the petition committee, and she brought in a petition where she says Europe has to do something. Things are going wrong in Greece because these policemen were apparently not. There was video footage. I don't need to tell you the story. You know it better. And this woman was so courageous, and she leads the battle for many other mothers and fathers who lost their kids through hate crime. And it's so important that parents stand up and I say I'm proud to be a parent, a mother, and a father of a
regardless
LGBTI
of the sex.
Yeah, regardless of the sex, regardless of the sexual orientation. And she lost her son because of violence and of crime, etc. And so that was a very I had tears in my eyes, and I see now both of us are getting very emotional. You knew Zach. I wish I would have known that wonderful person. I saw videos, but this is something you see, that hate speech leads to hate crime at the end, and then in a modern society is a total no-go.
I dealt with death threats because I was supporting Zach, so I really know what you mean.
Yeah.
It was a really dark period back then.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
I got also, when I was elected vice president of the parliament, from some homophobes in some countries, I got some comments on internet which were not really nice. Didn't get death threats, but really disgusting and horrible messages.
How did you react? How did you feel?
Well, it hurts, but then on the other hand, we are taught not to read too much of that. And then, thank God, many are in languages I didn't understand. But I'm honest now. I got one letter also. When it's a letter which you get,
it hurts more. Because it becomes personal.
Somebody writes your address on an envelope and then writes a whole paper, puts a stamp on it, puts it in and you get that there. I must say I had to sit down and I had to close the door of my office, and I was a bit, it got to me. But then at the end, and then I said, fuck it, I'm honored to have this. I mean, by these racists and these fascists and these horrible people, if they are against you, that shows that I'm doing something right. Yeah.
Haters gonna hate.
Yeah.
It's never gonna stop.
Yeah.
So we're talking about police crime and police violence. I'm sure you're aware about what happened in Greece a couple of weeks ago. Nowadays in Greece, police crime and violence is something we are witnessing a lot due to the public protests following the fatal train incident at the Thames. Mm-hmm. So my question is, what are the actions planned to be taken by the European Parliament on these matters of police violence?
There was a mission to Greece now of a delegation from the Libe Committee. The Libe Committee of the European Parliament is the Committee on Civil Liberties, and they are dealing with these issues of rule of law, justice, etc. And there was a mission to Greece. They were here this week. They were here from Monday to Wednesday, and they will do a report on that mission. And they saw civil society, they saw responsibles from government, they saw a lot of people. And there will be a public report, and this will be in the European Parliament during a Libe committee meeting. And all our committee meetings are web streamed, so I recommend you to follow a bit the agenda of the Libe committee. This can take a few months. And there was a whole issue before, because suddenly Conservatives, the EPP, said we cannot go to Greece now because they are mourning, they are still. And then others said, well, the official mourning period is over, and this is a mission on civil liberties, has nothing to do with the train accident. Of course, everybody was shocked. Solidarity with Greece and the families were expressed, but it was not during the mourning, the official state. But they wanted to prevent that,
to let things calm down.
Yeah. But it was important that mission came, and also we'll follow what happened, and we'll be eager to read the report or listen to the report of that.
Okay. You recently replaced Εύας Καϊλή by being elected Vice President of the European Parliament. So, what are the matters that have to be resolved, and what are your current responsibilities? This was a hot potato situation, definitely, and it also is a showcase of what should be avoided, and it was handled in an exemplary manner by the European Parliament. So, what were the actual consequences, and what is the morale behind this?
Well, first of all, we were all very shocked. We were all very shocked that such a thing is possible, that this corruption by foreign interference, it shocked us all, but I think the parliament reacted very well. And for me, as a social democrat, it was a double shock. In our group, we were very shocked that this happened in our political family, and we took action immediately from day one with suspension, etc. And we are also doing an internal inquiry now in our group. to see how was that possible, why didn't we not detect such things, and how can we prevent it? Because if we don't do it, our homework, we cannot be credible in the parliament. And in the parliament, we also supported, we had a fantastic resolution voted, and we have also the president of the parliament came out with a 14-point plan, and we have to now implement all these measures and increase transparency, make some certain rules stronger. For former members who have total access to the parliament, still do some, work on that, see who comes in and tighten the rules. But it's not enough to have rules, but we also have to give resources to those who have to control these rules. Because this NGO, which was in the base of this Qatargate scandal, was not registered and nobody noticed it and in the parliament on the transparency list. So we have to really... How could that be possible? Yeah, this is why we have to be now very vigilant and work on this, that this cannot happen, because we lost a lot of trust with the citizens. I think the European Union as a whole and the European Parliament has done excellent work throughout the COVID. I mean, remember the financial crisis, how Europe failed to find, Greece suffered the most also by decisions.
We'll never forget that period.
Yeah. So, and now we had COVID, and for the first time we say austerity is a no-go. We see what happens if we go to austerity. So we managed to get this 700 billion resilience and recovery fund, and we put forces together to get the vaccines, etc. We managed that. We stayed united during the war or the aggression of Russia to Ukraine. We did a lot on rule of law also with Poland and with Hungary.
And then
And then in December this happens, and it was like it overshadowed the whole work, and that was why we got very upset. And that's also why then I said, listen, as Social Democrats, we should not now hide, because it happened in our group. This was criminal energy from a few people. We have to fight back and say that we are proud and that we want to work for more transparency. Before I was elected, I said, I'm not going to be the champion of transparency. We all have to be champions of transparency and anti-corruption. And we need to have an anti-corruption culture throughout the whole European institutions.
Because you set the examples.
Yeah, we have to set the examples, yeah. But it also shows that justice is doing the job, that you can't get away. Of course, there is how do you call it? Always we trust the justice system now and see who is innocent and who is not innocent.
Yes, there is a process that has to be followed.
The process has to be followed. So, but it was a very sad story for the European Parliament.
This is my last question.
Yes.
It's more of a subject than a question. Politis Group and Pride 98.6 is the only media hub at this point in Greece that has an all-inclusive diversity framework in its work environment, meaning that it has LGBTI members, persons with disabilities. How could we establish in Greece more work environments, all-inclusive, such as this one? Because it's a culture that has to be cultivated.
I think social economy is a good chance for that also. And the Commission came out with a social economy action plan. And I've seen that a lot of young people now, or even when they create startups, they say, of course, we have to make business and earn our living, but it's not to fill our pockets. We want to reinvest.
And the soul.
We say life is short, and when we have 40 years of living, work life, we want to say we achieved something. And it's not only just to feed ourselves and to have luxury in our life, but it's to help society. And I think more and more young people are thinking like this, and therefore we should push social economy. But social economy, it's part of the real economy, and the dream would be, of course, if social economy would
rise above.
Yeah. But inclusivity is very important also. That's why the European Union is also very strong on the disability strategy, where we work a lot also, and we would like to have that countries have to have quotas when they employ people with disabilities and make it easier. We are now working on the disability card, which will be a European card where when you travel you have the same rights as disabled people in the other country when you move to other countries, etc.
Really important.
So this is important too, and this should be more than just get a cheaper access to a bus or a cinema or a theater, but a bit more that you don't always have to prove I go to offices and say, listen, so this is something they're working on. And then the EU Accessible Center is also a big project on disability to make everything more accessible, not only building streets and roads, but also internet and culture and media, etc. So this is very important, and but it's wonderful that you are a media set which takes so much care of inclusivity and all different subjects, and who just treats everybody the same, and that's wonderful. Congratulations! I will have a good memory of this.
I'm really
this
proud,
interview.
not proud to be
Yeah.
working here. You know, it's important for us, especially the new generation, Generation Z as well, because we have many young people
Yeah.
working here.
That's why I also have a lot of hope that I go to countries, as I told you, Hungary and Poland, but when I see the youth there now and the civil society, in a few years, all these politicians, these conservative or these politicians who use LGBTI or homophobia to divide, just to find a scapegoat, or so, they will disappear because young people won't go for. They are so open and they hear about it. But we have to be very careful. Some conservative parts would like to forbid sex education in schools, and sex and relation. I always talk about sex and relationship education, and this is a child's right. It's in the United Nations Charter of Children's Rights that every child has the right of age-adapted, comprehensive sexual education, and we know that sex education makes people more resilient, also against sexual abuse, etc. So this is also something we have to defend: sex and relationship education, and that's why in sex education they have to talk about LGBTI issues, because then, or trans issues or intersex issues, so that these people say, okay, I'm not the only one. Then you give people a chance to come out and to.
And it should be embedded in the curricula, in the culture of the school.
From little age on.
So it's something normal. When you grow up, you know, we don't show these people. Look, it's a gay couple.
So we need more children books where there's families with two mothers or two fathers, and stories about
and it's normal and
trans
it's okay.
And non-binary also, and non-binary, and not say, these are people, they don't know what they want. Yeah, they know exactly what they want. The non-binary, they know that they are not 100% men or 100% women, and we have to learn about it, meet them, and they have to come out, talk to us, and then things become very normal, you know.
Thank you very much for this conversation.
Thank you, Daphne, for these good questions and this good conversation we had, and it was a pleasure. This half an hour passed like 5 minutes for me.
If you talk about things you love, you know, time flies.
Yeah, you're right.
So I wish you the best of luck with all your fights that have to be fought and all the issues that have to be resolved.
Yeah, but I'm not alone, and it's good that we have people like you and your radio station.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.